What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is my co-captain, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
Hope you had a nice Easter. And we have a very, very fun show for today. We are celebrating the 20th anniversary. God, I sound old even just saying that. The 20th anniversary of the Shrek franchise, beginning with the original released in 2001. That spawned 3 sequels, a spin-off, a bunch of various shorts, holiday specials.
A spin-off series of the spin-off.
Yeah.
And a sequel to that spin-off coming out next year.
And a possible reboot / 5th film, but we'll get to that later. For now, we have some news to talk about. So, Cameron, what do you got?
Well, we must honor the passing of Jessica Walter, who is an Emmy-winning and Golden Globe nominee actress, who most animation fans would know as Mallory from Archer, who was also Archer's mom and such. She passed away at 80 years old, and she's done plenty of other animation work. Like she was in Miss Heinous from Star versus the Forces of Evil. I just got done with the first season. I enjoyed it. And she was in like Dinosaurs and plenty of other shows. And it's sad to see her go because she was such a talented actress and a very funny one. And there's always those fun stories online where, like, when Archer was getting made, they put out a call for a Jessica Walter type actress, and then her agent called them and was like, "Do you guys just want Jessica Walter?" Because
I love stories like that.
I know it's always those little surprises that makes the Hollywood experience a lot less cynical. I'm sad that she's gone. She was a very unique, and from what I watched of Archer, she on top of everyone else was just great.
Yeah, my brother's a big fan of Arrested Development. So when I texted him that Jessica Walter passed away, he got pretty heartbroken.
It's really sad, and it's like I don't know how they're going to keep doing Arrested Development now because she was just a huge part of that show. But also now it's just like, now what? Is there even a point? I don't think there is, even if Netflix throws all the money in the world at them. So we got some updates to MODOK, the new Marvel stop motion series that's premiering on May 21st. We have some new cast members. We have John Hamm, who will be voicing Iron Man, Whoopi Goldberg as Pound Cakes, Nathan Fillion as Wonder Man, and my favorite announcement of it all, Bill Hader as Angar the Screamer and the leader. That's a great set of actors to add on to the show, which is already like well casted.
Oh yeah.
You know?
But so, by the way, I completely forgot that I think a week ago WonderCon had its virtual Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So, you know, if there's any news that we missed from that convention, just send it our way. I saw a little bit of the clip they released, and the sense of humor is right on my alley. I might just be biased because Patton Oswalt just has like natural comedic timing.
Timing, yeah. I've listened to every single Patton Oswalt comedy special, so I have plenty of them on my phone. So he's definitely up my alley too. So we'll just have to see how that goes. I hope it's good. I can't wait.
Same.
I hate that I have to wait until next month, but whatever. So the famous shonen anime Black Clover is getting an anime film. The show it's about to wrap up, or I think just wrapped up. And now it's going to get a movie. that's really it that they have so far. If you want to watch this show, it's on Funimation and Crunchyroll, but Funimation is streaming the English dub. And if anyone is curious, it would be fun to tackle this just to see what it's like. But it's also like 150 episodes.
Yeah.
So
If anyone wants us to cover one of these long running shonen, it'll have to be by popular demand. But I've heard some pretty good things about Black Clover.
yeah, no, I'm not so down on shonen anime as most anime fans are. As long as it's like I'm entertained and like I find it compelling enough, then I'm going to keep watching. I mean, like I've dropped off of shows like Seven Deadly Sins, Naruto, Bleach, and what have you. But
The
I'm still going.
reason I've dropped off shonen series, it's not necessarily for lack of interest. It's just, there's a lot of things to keep up with. So if you end up missing a week or two or 7, it's hard to get back into it.
Yeah, and just to correct something, 170 episodes. Jeez. I don't know. Maybe when we launch a Patreon, we'll make that a high tier goal or something.
I'd be into that.
Yeah, yeah. So Keanu Reeves is in our animation sites because he's going to be making a movie and anime series based off of, is it his graphic novel Berserker?
I'm pretty sure he's behind this.
Yeah, so they're going to be making, I think what I remember is a live action film, but they're also going to make an anime series based off of it. And yeah, give me more animated Keanu. I mean, I love Keanu. He's one of those actors that has a lot of compelling stage presence or film presence per se, and I mean, why not?
Exactly. All I had to do to be sold on this was look at the like that one panel that just shows him, like, I guess jumping out of a helicopter.
Yeah.
That like the pose that he's in is just perfection. I hope the animated series retains that art style.
Do you have a studio you'd want to make this for? Like do you have, or like have an idea or such?
I don't know. If they're going for more of an anime style, I would say Mappa.
I was going to say Mappa too, because they are really good at action, and either that or Wit Studios. I don't think like a Studio Trigger would do well with this show. Like if they want to keep the visuals of the show of the comic intact.
Yeah,
because
Trigger is a little bit too bouncy, I guess.
Yeah, they're like the same kind of studio like with Science Saru. They kind of want to break up and do something different than what what no other studios do. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. So Spire Animation is back in the news because they are teaming up with Danny McBride for an animated film called Trouble. So Trouble tells the story of Jax, a 13-year-old who gets into trouble because of his bad behavior towards his family, and then literally ends up in the world of Trouble, a parallel reality. Once he's transported to this bizarre and fantastic world of chaotic adolescence, he has to figure out how to get out of trouble and get back home. Jax and the friends he meets in the world of Trouble discover their true character, and through a whimsical adventure, learn the value of self-forgiveness and empathy to earn their shot at redemption, all the while trying to escape the scariest place of all, Big Trouble.
Do you ever read a premise for an animated film and just kind of imagine in your head the trailer?
I hope like this sounds great.
Like as you're reading the synopsis, I was already kind of imagining how the trailer would play out, and
Yeah.
I need this movie. I need this movie ASAP.
So Danny McBride will be it's a or so this film is an original story co-created by writer, actor, and director Danny McBride. So um that'll be interesting to see because like a lot of people seen him in like acting, like comedy films, and his like the Angry Birds movie too, which I thought he was great in that. He's in like Despicable Me, Kung Fu Panda 2.
And isn't he
Uh,
also in Mitchell versus the Machines?
yeah, he plays the dad, and we'll get to that soon. And he's also in like, of course, the typical Seth Rogen stuff like Pineapple Express and his HBO shows like The Righteous Gemstones and Vice Principals. So this sounds great. Yeah, give us more original content. I'm down for that.
Same.
So AMC, the channel, not the theater chain, has a cast lineup for their stop motion half-hour show from Stupid Buddy Studios, the Robot Chicken and Crossing Swords team, and the people making Modoc, for the series Ultra City Smiths. We have Jimmy Simpson, Davine Joy Randolph, John C. Riley, Bebe Newworth, Jason Mantzoukas, Damon Harriman, Melissa Villaseñor, Kurtwood Smith, Tim Heidecker, Chris Conrad, and Hannah May Lee.
Not bad.
Not bad. I love John C. Riley, so I'm super excited to see him and stuff.
And I feel like we've been seeing or hearing a lot of Jason Mantzoukas in animation lately.
He's just good at what he does. He's a very distinct comedic actor, and I'm just glad that he's getting into more shows. And I love Divine Joy. Sorry, I might have mispronounced it as Devine, but I think it's Divine. Because she's in Dolomite Is My Name, and now it's just one of my favorite movies from 2019. And I mean, this is a strong cast. I guess let's keep moving. Let's get into some controversy. Tokyo Babylon, the the series by Clamp Studios. Well, it was going to get a 2021 anime, but now it has to restart its entire production.
Oh man.
Because it was originally going to be set at Go Hands, the people behind Scars of the Praetor. Yikes. Because there were some issues with the character's fashion. And now that sounds kind of silly. It's like, well, what's wrong with that? Well, it's plagiarism if you're copying a real life person's outfit. Like, and it's very distinct. It's not just, well, but I wear a shirt. What's wrong with that? No. Very distinct. So yeah, so now Clamp is looking for another studio, and yeah, they have to start from square one.
Let me ask you this: Do you think they dodged a bullet by not moving forward with the studio behind Scars of Praetor?
On one hand, yes, because I just don't think Go Hands has made a thing I like. On the other hand, it kind of makes sense that they would go with them first, but I think they need something maybe like a Studio Wit, or maybe the studio that's doing Fruit Baskets, to do the style justice, because Clamp is a very distinct visual style. It's kind of like you see what they make, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a Clamp anime or what have you. It's kind of like spotting Akira Toriyama and what have you. So
right, and aren't all of their their manga set in the same universe too?
Kind of, yes. Like I think Tokyo Babylon takes place before X. But it's been ages, And
The
usually I
only
like.
one I've actually seen start to finish is Tsubasa, which I haven't seen in a
Oh
while, but I
yeah,
remember really liking it.
yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully Clamp and this anime find a better place, but oh, we'll have to see. A lot of anime behind the scene production troubles are always kind of fascinating to watch, and you kind of want to hear everything, be the fly on
Mhm.
the wall and whatnot. So, Pete Guard has inked an overall deal with WB Animation and Cartoon Network Studios. He's the guy behind Looney Tunes, the new ones, Clarence and Uncle Grandpa. So this is a big deal because, like, obviously, like we are getting more Looney Tunes cartoons by the end of the month, which is awesome. And so, and it's as good because it sounds like WB and Cartoon Network are like, we want you on, just make us something. So
Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I I also should point out again that um, his team made two Tom and Jerry shorts, which are like some of the best modern incarnations of the famous cat and mouse duo. Um, and apparently they're being taken off HBO Max soon. So if you haven't seen them yet, you should get on that.
I don't get why they're doing that. Like, I guess that I don't know. That doesn't like I don't know. It's I guess they don't own all the Boomerang stuff yet, or they're just like I guess Boomerang is successful on its own to not have to be engulfed by HBO Max. But
Apparently, because I'm confused why Warner Media likes to have all of their stuff sprinkled in so many other places instead of keeping everything in one home.
just do it. Just keep it all in one place because people are already getting sick and tired of having to pick between streaming services. Uh, it might not be everyone, but it's just like, oh boy, gotta pay for another one, and we'll just have to see. But anyway, congrats to Pete. He and his team have been just delightful to see their work on screen, and I can't wait for the new Looney Tunes shorts. I see that Puma character that
Oh yeah,
uh
Petey Puma.
yeah, that's a character that sticks with me. I don't know why, but I always remember his voice and just his mannerisms. So I'm curious. I'm excited to see Bugs Bunny interact with him.
Same.
So Disney's launching a 20th television animation studio and is promoting veteran exec Marcy Proieto to run new units, and she's of course been responsible with dealing with Family Guy and The Simpsons. I'm curious to see where this goes because on one hand, they've had some success, but they've also had some failures because they also just canceled Bless the Hearts after 2 seasons, and um, that was just kind of a bummer because I've heard that show's actually pretty good, but that art style, man.
Yeah.
And of course, they just recently released Solar Opposites on Hulu, and due to some recent news about a certain actor on that show, I'm blacklisting that show unless he's replaced. Um,
Smart move.
yeah, it's not fun to watch that show anymore, and I already wasn't so impressed by it, so works for me. But we'll have to see what happens. I'm curious to see where Marcy takes the direction of this like what with the work and such. So
Um, I can't really um, I can't really say anything about the legacy shows because I haven't really been a consistent viewer of those in over a decade, but like the new shows that come from this like reorganized animation studio,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how she how she leaves her mark on adult animation.
Right. So speaking of Disney, Disney has had dropped a few updates, like of course Black Widow and Cruella having both theatrical and premiere access, like Ray and the Last Dragon. And well, they dropped some news that Luca, the newest Pixar film, will be a Disney Plus original. Excuse me, will be a Disney Plus original, and will be released June 18th. I'm mixed. I get why they're doing it, but I also wish they like what makes Cruella and Black Widow that much more important to the premiere access strategy than Luca. Like what's up with the Pixar stuff? Because it's going to drive people wild, because this is the second time that they've done this with Soul last year, but you can at least say they put that on Disney Plus as a quote unquote gift.
You know, it's funny how cute they're being about this, because Soul came out on Disney Plus on Christmas Day, and Luca comes out on June 18th as, according to this article, as a special offering to kick off the summer season. So they're aiming this towards kids who are like just getting off of school and have like that one summer treat to look forward to.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I would have loved to have seen this movie in a theater. I wish they were just doing that.
Same.
Because if the Godzilla versus Kong news info that's coming out as we record this is any indication, people will do both. They'll go to see it at a theater and then go or watch it on Disney Plus, HBO Max, or whatever. So I don't I don't know. I guess it's like, why do people have to pay for Cruella when I feel like most people would rather see Cruella for free?
I wonder if budget has something to do with it. Like for Black Widow, I totally understand, because
Oh
it's a
yeah.
Marvel movie. Those things somehow are not allowed to cost less than 100 million.
For some reason.
But Cruella seems a bit more like a flashier mid-budget film.
And
So,
it's not like I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, the director of I, Tonya and such, and like the team behind making this film is insane. And it's going to be weird to see them try to make everyone root for the person who is going to skin 100 puppies. But like, I don't know. I agree. I agree with the Black Widow stuff, but I don't know. I guess it's weird because I don't think Mulan did very well with the premiere access thing, so I don't know why they're trying to do it with Cruella.
it's very confusing, but hey, what do we know? We're not in those offices.
That's true. Or I guess in this case Zoom meetings, but so Funimation is going to be co-producing an anime this year. It will be released exclusively to the service, and it's a adaptation of She Professed Herself Pupil of the Wise Man, and that's really it. And they've revealed, of course, like the cast and who will be working on it. Like Keitaro Motonaga will be directing the anime. And well, it looks cute. This is, I think, the second time I've seen something like with Funimation co-producing something because they got that movie that's coming out, I think, this year. And it'll be interesting to see because I assume they're doing this because Crunchyroll is doing it.
Probably, and
And
both those services are now under the same roof.
well, so far, apparently there's some hiccups in terms of the buyout right now, and I think they're just kind of investigating a little more before they make it official. I think there was just some like, hold on, how was this made possible, kind of thing. But I wouldn't be shocked if it still goes through, but we'll have to see. So, a new Hulu original animated series is coming out, created by Michael Cusack, who did YOLO Crystal Fantasy, which I haven't seen, but I'm curious to check that show out now because of this. It is called Koala Man, and Justin Roiland will be helping out with this, and Bento Box and Princess Pictures will be executive producers. The series is an adult-targeted animated family comedy where the patriarch lives a not-so-secret identity of Koala Man, an Australian suburban superhero with no powers but a burning passion to snuff out petty crime and bring order to the community. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds like fun. I see some names like Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit, who I believe worked on Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, and they also worked on Central Park.
Yep, One Day at a Time, The Tick, Super Fun Night,
1600 Pin, and yeah, so that's interesting to see. And oh yeah, they wrote Detective Pikachu, so that'll be kind of a fun combination. I'm not sold on the design, but if this show kind of plays with the absurdity of, well, Koala Man. Sorry, I can only think about Gary Owen saying that voice, kind of like, because he was the voice of Space Ghost and Birdman, and like those old Hanna-Barbera action shows were like Birdman. Golly, I could listen to those opening clips like for hours. It's just something you don't get anymore. Sorry for the tangent. So Netflix will be making a new animated film called Steps, and it'll be produced by Amy Poehler and directed by animator Elise Zhu, who created Soar, a student film award. Like it was the 2015 Student Academy Award Gold Medal winner Soar. So Steps is a spin on the classic Cinderella story in which the two overlooked stepsisters set out on an epic journey after being rejected by the prince and realize that their own happily ever afters might be much different from what they thought. That's such a cool premise. I love that.
that has Amy Poehler written all over it. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Poehler and Faye were the voice of the stepsisters.
I could see that.
Or maybe they want to go younger and they'll cast I don't know, some up and coming actresses that are like in their teens. Whatever the direction they take, I'm sure this is going to be a hit.
Yeah. And Jane Hardwell, who was who worked on The Croods, is working on this, and so Riki Lindholm is writing the script. And it looks like Kate Micucci's also producing and helping out with music and such. So that's a fun little team to have. So let's talk about some unfortunate Blue Sky news, because as much as I'd love to say like Nimona got a new release and will be finished by this studio here, Blue Sky apparently is going through some accusations of tax fraud. Yikes.
Yeah, big yikes.
So apparently they received like they took 50 million in excess tax credits, like more than they should have for their films. Though I guess like I guess I wish I was a little more educated about why, like, what's the issue here. But to me, it just kind of sounds like they were taking more money than they should. And I'm wondering now what the higher ups were doing. And I guess put on your little tinfoil hats. I wonder if Disney caught wind of this, and this is why Nimona got canceled.
That sounds likely, but in all honesty, it makes me feel even worse for the artists who poured their hearts and souls into that film, and I really don't think they I really don't think they should have been punished um for Blue Sky's um you know um kind of irresponsible um spending.
Yeah, no, I don't. No, to be clear, I don't blame the artists or the animators. None at all. It sounds like this is more of a thing that the higher ups were getting themselves into, and well, yeah, I'm wondering if this, because yeah, that sucks then, because Nimona just sounded like it was going to be a great movie, and then the shutdown happened, and I'm wondering if this turns out to be true or supposedly true, um, if that would have complicated things, or it's just like, why were they taking so much extra money? Like, because their films don't cost like a huge amount. They're kind of like the same ballpark as like Illumination. So from what I recall,
And
and
like, just I'm not trying to assume the like the atmosphere of Blue Sky's working environment, but it doesn't seem like this was done like maliciously.
no,
It's probably just like um it's probably just like a case of bad accounting that got them into this mess. This is very um it's a very complex and complicated scenario.
see, that's my problem. I can't, like, I don't want to assume anything, but I want to know what happened, like what's going on, and is this just someone being reckless with the money or whatever? Just like, this is a problem because for as far as we know, a lot of this information could be hidden behind an NDA, and you know how fun those are.
Oh yeah.
That, as I should know. Uh, Not that I didn't mind signing those, but it's like you got to be careful. So let's move on to some trailer reactions. Let's just hope to the stuff with Blue Sky clears up, and I do hope something could happen with Nimona, but who knows now. Anyway, Disney and Lucasfilms released a trailer for the upcoming CGI series Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which will be released on May 4th with a special 70-minute premiere episode, with a then weekly release starting May 7th. For anyone who might not remember, the Bad Batch follows the elite and experimental clones of the Bad Batch, and they were first introduced in the Clone Wars, as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone War. Members of the Bad Batch, a unique squad of clones who vary genetically from their brothers in the Clone Army, each possess a singular, exceptional skill that makes them extraordinary, effective soldiers and a formidable crew. It will be produced by Dave Filoni, who, of course, has worked on The Mandalorian, The Clone Wars, Athena Portillo, Brad Rao, and Jennifer Corbett, with Carrie Beck being a co-executive producer and Josh Rhimes as producer. And this looks cool. I think this looks like a fun series.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time catching up on the Clone Wars and Rebels. Um, just so I have, well, as a Star Wars fan, I probably shouldn't ignore the animated stuff, but like judging this trailer on its own merits, it just looks fun. It's
And
it's
it
it's
Go ahead.
something unique. I mean, as unique as you can be in the Star Wars universe. Um, I like this ragtag team of clones. I love how one of them is like an obvious homage to Rambo with his headband and everything.
Yeah, no, and they're all going to be voiced by D. Bradley Baker because
Yeah, that's the other thing.
he'll be able to flex his range a little more with this voice because like he's been one of the few like major highlights for me from what I've been rewatching of the Clone Wars or from what I remember because D. Bradley Baker is just a great voice actor. I'm a little worried about that little girl character that they run into because I guess it's like I've been thinking about this recently. I feel like Disney is its own worst enemy because it's like this sounds like a much darker or a little more mature, quote unquote, series, but then they have to add a kid character.
Yeah, it's like you can only go so far without kind of bumping into the edge of like the edge of the Disney wall.
It's like you can make adult characters just be the stars and whatnot, but whatever. But it looks great. I'm going to try to get a screener for that first episode, so we'll have to see if I can. Uh, DreamWorks dropped a full trailer for Spirit Untamed, which will be released June 4th, a month after the Bad Batch. And it looks fine. Nothing has really changed, but I felt like we had to talk about it a little because it was a full trailer and not just an ad. I liked one sequence at the end where you see the train going across the water and the reflection of the blue skies on the bottom, and
Yeah,
you like you couldn't.
that was cool.
That was very cool, and of course the horse animation looked really impressive. I think no matter if it's 2D or CGI, a horse is a pain in the butt to animate. That's always been kind of a thing. I forgot what the animator's name was, but I remember he was teaching a class one day, and um, a student said, "Can you animate or draw a horse on top of a ball, like a big rubber ball?" And he was just like, "I'm not doing that." I mean, that's like, I think some people underestimate how tough animating certain creatures are. So,
And
but
that's why I give all the respect in the world to um someone like Glenn Keane, who who did a lot of work on all the Disney stuff, but particularly Tangled. I anytime I think of animation and horses, I think of the greatest horse of all time, Maxwell.
oh, Maxwell, that he's such a great. Well, Tangled's just a great movie in general, and Maxwell is just so good, just so well animated, so like full of personality. And well, I wish I had that same passion and spirit for Spirit Untamed. It just looks fine, and apparently, from what I've heard some people say, like their kids kind of know what the deal is. More is that it's like a oh, what are they? What do I call those anime films that are just like, oh, they're just retelling a certain batch of episodes, a recap
Um,
film or something.
yeah, a recap film.
So that kind of puts me in a little more of a like, oh gosh, don't do that. But it does because we were talking about this last time we talked about this film. Who is this made for? Because it's retelling a story that it's different and it's going to have a different cast attached to it because it's a movie and you have to
Okay,
have these.
you know what this reminds me of?
What?
Okay, so do you remember the Lego Ninjago movie from I think 2017?
Yeah, 17.
Okay, so that's Ninjago. It
Yeah.
has mostly the same characters or like similar characters from apparently a very long running Cartoon Network Ninjago series.
Yeah.
Um, but but the film has nothing to do with the series. It's more just like set in the Lego movie universe.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's going on with this Spirit film. Um, it's not necessarily a sequel to um, like the 2002 film Stallion of
The Cimarron.
yeah, Cimarron. And as you just pointed out, it's like kind of taking the same plot of the Netflix series, but changing the voice cast and
The
well,
story, a bit of the story from what it looks like, because they're taking what would be like maybe 2 or so or more hours of content and putting it into like a 90-minute film.
yeah,
And it looks fine. I think like for whatever budget this thing has, it looks pretty good. But it still looks like it would have been better fit for like Peacock or Netflix.
yeah. I almost like when news of this film like first broke out. I thought this would be something more like the Arcadia film, which is going directly to Netflix. I thought it would be something more like that.
Yeah. No, and
But the trailer itself looks fine.
yeah, no, the animation looks fine. It looks pretty polished for theatrical quality. I think it's just like a texture thing. Something about the hair and the lighting, and I think the designs in general look a little off. I give them kudos for giving us a Hispanic lead, which is sadly rare for animated films. Um, it's just weird because it's like you're turning off the fans of the original film, which wasn't really all that successful and had a few problematic elements. But then you're turning off the fans of the TV show because then they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, I've seen this story, but these are different characters and different voices. What's going on here? So it's like you're making a film for, I don't want to say no one, but it's just weird. Um, I did like that one scene with the train going over the water and like the reflection of the water is the sky, which like full kudos, that looks great. But these human characters look like they're from like the Puss in Boots film. Like I don't know, they look a bit different than the humans you see in the original Spirit film. But
Mhm.
whatever, let's move on. We have a few more trailers to talk about.
Before we move any further, on a trailer that wasn't in our original show notes was we finally get a first look at um, Yasuke,
Yeah,
upcoming original Netflix anime from Mappa, starring Lakeith Stanfield as the titular protagonist. So, in an alternate reality version of feudal Japan, reimagined with magic and advanced technology, a boatman named Yasuke puts his storied past as a legendary ronin known as the Black Samurai behind him. But when he encounters a girl with mysterious powers after a village is attacked by a warlord, Yasuke finds himself in the middle of a power struggle between rival daimyo as well as dealing with dark supernatural elements as he protects the young child. Um, man, I'm so happy to finally get a first look at this series, and it's coming out in in a few weeks too.
Yeah, no, it looks great, and Mappa's a very good studio, and This is by the same creator of Netflix's Cannon Busters. And before I hear some knucklehead be like, "Well, now it's just political progressive," blah, blah, blah. This was based off of a real life samurai, so shut it. Um, and man, you can't go wrong with Keith Stanfield. He's so good. Um, and now will be premiering at the end of April, a day before the Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yep.
But
By the way, the creator is LaShawn Thomas, and he's also done Black Dynamite. He's worked on The Legend of Korra, The Boondocks,
right, yeah,
Children of Ether. Lot of good stuff on his resume.
yeah, he's a very talented guy. I'm always excited and ready to follow whatever he's working on. Now, we finally got a actual, honest to God, new trailer for the Mitchells versus the Machines, and it's gonna, of course, and a release date update, which is gonna come out April 30th, and I'm super sad about that. Like, don't make me wait any longer, but I understand they want to give a little breathing room for Arlo the alligator boy. And but it's just like, it's finally nice to see some new footage instead of going off of that one trailer over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And
unlike that last trailer, this one, I can't say for sure because I haven't seen the movie yet, but it feels like it has more energy to it.
yeah,
Like this. Okay, so the title of the film, The Mitchells versus the Machines, it tells you a little bit more about the story than the generic one word connected.
God, that's the thing with those major theatrical release films. They love their one word titles for some reason. I guess it's a marketing thing. Um, but but then again, there's stuff like How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. What's wrong with putting the 3 in there? But I think that the title's more fitting, and I enjoyed I think this trailer does a better job at telling us what kind of story this film is about. It's not about a father just going like bemoaning technology. It's an offbeat family trying to feel connected as they take their daughter to college, and it just so happens that there's a robot apocalypse. That stuff like that happens. They also updated the cast with, of course, they had Danny McBride, Abby Jacobson, Maya Rudolph, Olivia Colman, Eric Andre, Doug the Pug, and Rihanna. But then we also have Fred Armisen, Chrissy Teigen, John Legend, Charlene Yee, Conan O'Brien, Sashir Zamata, Ellie Mills, Jay Farrow, Alex Hirsch, which I'm excited about, and Griffin McElroy playing in the supporting cast. And I think we already know who Chrissy Teigen and John Legend are going to be because you see them in the trailer.
Yep.
I did love the trailer. I did love the opening gag of like the robots. They're like, there they are. There's the last humans. They're coming at us. Is that a 1993 Ford Challenger? And then they get like run over, and they're like, how do we stop these unstoppable humans? Oh, but yeah, and I loved it. Well, first of all, Olivia Colman as the villain is great, and and I just love this film's animation style. It's so gorgeous and so cartoony and different, and you can't pinpoint this film looking like any other film, and like that's on the market right now, and that's so cool with this CGI kind of 2D combination with it. It's like, oh, I'm frothing at the mouth just rereading over those tweets from the directors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was either Lord or Miller. We're talking about some of the little details and behind the scenes stuff. I'm just so excited about watching this movie.
Same. I'm man, this whole creative team is just doing they're like they're just doing some really top notch stuff with like experimental animation, but still telling like relatable stories.
It's
And
also yeah.
and I think we can both agree that one of the best jokes in this trailer involves a Furby.
Oh god, the Furby sequence. I was a little worried about how they were going at that, and then all the Furbies like dive bombing them, and then the giant one comes out of nowhere and it says, "Let the dark harvest begin." Oh, that's me when I see a bag of Butterfingers. So
That's me with any bag of chips.
yeah. Oh golly, the place where I work has so many good chip varieties. That's exactly how I feel, and I'm just so excited for this film. Like it warms my heart. It's also an original movie. It's not based off of a book or anything.
Yeah,
And
it's wholly original, which Netflix has been good at that. I mean, some some of their stuff is like adaptations, but most of their animated content is wholly original.
yeah, and that's unfortunately something you kind of have to fight for because otherwise you get a Space Jam, a new legacy. Speaking
Which
of,
yeah, I figured now's the time.
so we got us an official release trailer for Space Jam, a new legacy, which will be coming out, I think, July 18th, from what I remember.
July 16th, but
Oh, 16th, thank you. And we got to see the whole plot in order of LeBron and his kid getting zapped into the cyberverse. Basically, the entire database of all the IPs Warner Brothers owns. And basically, they have to, of course, like we said in the plot rundown, they have to deal with an algae rhythm, played by Don Cheadle. And of course, LeBron has to get in the help of the Looney Tunes for the a basketball game of a lifetime. So, Mike, I'll let you go first. What did you think about this trailer?
I think this trailer looks pretty insane for what is obviously a pretty it's pretty obvious that this is um Warner Animation's kind of sort of answer to both Ralph Breaks the Internet and Ready Player One, but also trying to be a sequel to Space Jam at the same time. It's a very busy movie in terms of its plot, um, all of the cameos. It's it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, no, there was a lot. It was almost a little too much because it's like it slightly in a cynical point of view, this trailer was made for all those channels on YouTube that love to break down Easter eggs and like frame by frame.
This gets back.
As
Um, we're recording this on Easter Sunday, and Warner Brothers put out another video this morning on YouTube with Bugs Bunny saying like, you know, since since Easter is my favorite holiday, um, let's walk you through all of the Easter eggs from the Space Jam trailer. So
yeah,
like it's only a minute long, but they point out like a lot of the stuff that like all of these YouTube channels have kind of pointed out already.
yeah. I know it's a little too late to the ball on their part, but still. Um so what do you think about the animation mix? Because we finally see that there's going to be some amount of the film that's going to be 2D, but then the Looney Tunes get turned into CGI, and LeBron gets, of course, turned back into a real human. So
First of all, I really like the design of animated LeBron. It's that's one of the like unique things that this movie's doing. They're like, I think LeBron is a much better actor than Michael Jordan ever will be. Like LeBron has more charisma. He kind of gets Hollywood more, if that makes any sense. He has the stage presence, that just kind of like fits in perfectly with the Looney Tunes.
yeah,
So I liked that, they actually blended him into the Toon World a lot more. And I like the 2D designs of the Looney Tunes. I think the designs compared to, say, the HBO Max shorts are a little bit more generic, but they still look nice. The 3D models, I'm a little bit more mixed on.
right.
It's kind of unfortunate that the worst character is Granny. I don't think her design translates as well in 3D compared to the rest of them.
I think the CGI could have been better, and I honestly think they could have maybe gotten a different team to work on this, because not like the team that made it look like it all looks bad or they didn't do a good job, but I think the animation is off. I think they needed someone like the Hotel Transylvania team, or like the people behind that.
That would have been awesome.
I think I think what's missing is like a more snappiness to their movements, because they're the Looney Tunes. They're snappy, and maybe it's just because we've been watching the new HBO Max shorts, but they feel weightier, and that just doesn't feel right to me.
There's an uncanny valley feel to like these models.
Yeah, and it's just weird. It's weird because like the textures look fine, some of the movements look fine, but I think it needs, again, just some snappier stuff, and it's also kind of hard not to look and see like, oh hey, they took the CGI models from Scoob, and put it in there because you can see Blue Falcon and how he looks from the recent Scoob film from last year. Golly, that was last year. But it's like I like some of the look of some of the other film characters. Like I like the Flintstones look pretty good, and the Herculoids in the background, that just made me a little happy because that was one of my favorite childhood shows. That shows you how old I am, because I remember a time when Cartoon Network played the Herculoids.
Yeah, that was ages ago.
Yeah. And it's not like I'm not having fun with some of these trailer stuff, but I guess I need to get my thoughts out a little. I am of two minds of this. The entire team making this movie is overqualified, and I kind of want
overqualified is an understatement.
This is a really good team, and I'm curious to see what exactly comes out of this with this film and them. Like, because it seemed like Coogler was a lot more behind it, like more like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like his brother is one of the credited screenwriters, and he's obviously a very hands-on producer.
Yeah, but I'm also like, this is so cynical, and maybe that's kind of the point. because the main villain is Algae Rhythm, um, and it's a lot because it's like it's kind of a Space Jam sequel, but it's also like them wanting to do Ready Player One, but with all of their properties, or pull a Who Framed Roger Rabbit or Ralph Breaks the Internet kind of thing. And I'm a little shocked that some people are like, well, what's wrong with not being excited for this and liking all this? And it's like, and not to defend Disney, because Disney flaunting all their stuff is also kind of like, I don't know. But it seems like if Disney was doing this, everyone would be so much harsher on this movie. Like, I don't understand the defense and love and support that Space Jam gets. And not that like you're dumb if you like the movie, like it, that's fine. Perfectly okay. Nothing wrong with that. I don't know. Something about this movie just rubbed me the wrong way when I first watched the trailer. And then you have of course, the one cameo that everyone's like, "What?" with the Clockwork Orange guys.
Okay, yeah. This is something we need to talk about because I don't know if it was like if it was the last episode or a couple episodes ago. We talked about the story of a scene involving Pepe Le Pew getting cut. That had something to do. It was like addressing
Consent. And
yeah.
so it's like, so you cut that scene out, but you put the guys from one of the most shocking movies ever made in the background. Like,
Yeah, in a kids film, no less.
and like, first off, if people haven't seen Clockwork Orange, one, don't show your kids. Absolutely do not show your kids. Two, it's actually a great movie, but it's a hard sit. Three, those characters are thugs and rapists. Like, they're not good people. So it's a little tone deaf. No, it's not a little. It's really tone deaf. So it's like, so you cut out the scene where it's all about like learning and being like upfront about consent, but you keep them in the shot.
Yeah, sending very mixed signals there.
So now it's like, okay, so was the scene that got cut just not working? Or is it just like, oh, like we own all these old movie properties. Let's just put them in there. That'll just be fun for the adult viewers who are watching this. And I just don't think kids will be watching it, or like the target audience for this film. It's mostly for the young parents who grew up watching the movie.
Most likely, yeah.
Most likely, like I'm sure kids will love this because it's Looney Tunes. And then of course there's just Warner Brothers sure loves using the Iron Giant imagery without really like, yeah, I mean, as everyone knows, the original release of Iron Giant, the movie bombed, but then became like a huge hit on home video and whatnot. Like, it became a hit afterwards, and that's a shame because Iron Giant is one of the best animated movies of the '90s.
Absolutely.
So seeing the Iron Giant running and kind of accidentally causing some havoc is a little like, I don't know. Like, I'm not so like bent out of shape about it, but it's also like, I don't know. See, this is the thing that I think like people would get on Disney's case with, like with the Ralph Breaks the Internet thing, where it's like, oh, the Oh My Disney section. Here we have the Muppets, Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, Disney, and it's like, so everyone threw a fit about that sequence, but a lot of people are awfully quiet about seeing it done here.
Yeah, it's funny because in Ralph Breaks the Internet, that whole Oh My Disney section was like it was basically just one scene in the film. This is like, and I mean, to be fair, it's only a trailer, but this feels like it's more of the premise than just like one isolated scene.
Yeah. Like I think it's obvious that they're gonna put a lot of these sequences of just like spot all the characters near the end. Because this is obviously like when the basketball game is happening. And so
I hope like um I hope this is just a case where kind of like how they marketed the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water, that
yeah.
like the movie itself has more time devoted to like the 2D animated stuff as opposed to, you know, the basketball game, which really should only be the climax.
Yeah. But it's like I want to be more mad about this because it's like, could you imagine the response and support that this Space Jam movie is getting if it was for something like the next film we'll be talking about, Belle? Like something original and not so corporately put together? Like I guess it's like why why is this one getting so much support and love when like it feels like that kind of thing where it's like people don't really like original ideas because they're not familiar with them. So, I mean, I don't know. As you can probably tell, I'm so divided by this trailer. I'm still probably going to watch it. I hope it's good. It's probably going to be better because of the people behind it. But I don't know. It just seems like something about this movie is going to rub me the wrong way throughout the whole runtime, and I
Um,
hate that. And I hate that.
trust me, I understand a lot of where your like where your reservations are coming from. One final thing I'll say before we move on is the best case scenario is that this movie, Space Jam: A New Legacy, is as good as the Lego Movie was 7 years ago.
I hope so.
Because there was even a lot of um there was even a lot of cynicism like back then, and at this time Lord and Miller had only had like two other films under their belt. They had Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which was great, and 21
Mhm.
Jump Street, which was great.
Yeah.
But somehow they're like they still had this reputation of like um signing on to projects that people were doubting like until you know until they finally saw the movie for themselves. I'm hoping that this movie rises to that level, but we'll see.
No, I hope it does. And with the casting of Zendaya as Lola, at first I was like, oh, I kind of wish they brought back Kath Sose or Kristen Wiig as the character, but I think Zendaya is a good choice. Like I at first I think it was more just like they put a celebrity to their name, and but I like Zendaya. So
Yeah, Zendaya is she's a good actress. I get exactly why she was cast in this role.
she's
Um,
great.
um, it's really just I it's really just my high horse of I want to see the professional voice actors um, become more recognizable names.
No, I get that. It's just like this is going to happen with this kind of stuff. So I mean, like I'm in support of Zendaya as Lola. Even like it's just my nostalgia talking because it's like I loved the incarnations that Kath Sose and Christian Wiig brought to the table. Um, but we'll have to see. It's just a trailer. We barely know anything else outside of all the Easter eggs in it. So for our final trailer before we get to the movies, um, let's talk about the new Mamoru Hosoda film, Belle. We finally got our first official like international trailer for the film, and let's just say the production of this film is a lot more international than you'd think it is, because for
Yeah.
one, you have Jen Kim, who worked on films from like Hercules to Frozen, and helped design the characters for Frozen. And of course, now that means like cool. This Disney designers work on a film for Studio Chizu, um, and and Mamoru Hosoda, is just one of my favorite animation directors. Um, and then with the announcement of like the plot and the characters and such, like what the story's about, they announced that Tom Moore and Ross Stewart of Cartoon Saloon are lending their talents to the film. And then it's like, holy macaroni.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even talking about the trailer itself, which looks great. And I I have an unhealthy obsession of watching the trailer. I've watched it like 6 times today.
I don't blame you, because every single frame of that trailer just looks gorgeous.
Yeah, now and this story, and it's like it's picking up a lot of what like what Hosoda likes to talk about. The film follows a modern 17-year-old student named Suzu who lives in a village with her father. The teen feels as if she's been living as a shadow of herself for years, until one day she logs on to the massive virtual world of You. Amid its 5 billion users, Suzu becomes the pink-haired superstar singer Belle. When she meets a mysterious creature, Suzu/Belle is swept up in a challenging journey on their shared quest to become who they truly are. And oh my gosh, this movie looks great. It just, the animation, the combination of 2D and CGI is probably the best I've seen from Japan so far. And yes, if you know anything about Japan's like slow evolution of using CGI, like this looks great. And uh, it's like trailer making 101. I'm so pumped, and the trailer tells you everything that you kind of need to know, and it keeps enough out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the trailer?
I like how the trailer is a little bit. It's a little bit more of a It's pretty much the very definition of show don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they I think that's just a difference between like Japanese trailers and Western trailers, that um you know they're like they want to give you a taste of what to expect for the film, but they also don't want to give away any of the big surprises or like any like major emotional scenes. They just kind of want to they just want to like give you a little tease, like, and
Yeah,
they want to show you something that kind of like best represents what um what to expect.
right.
um and I do need to confess that this is my this will be my first exposure to the work of Mamoru Hosoda. um I'm looking forward to eventually diving deeper into his filmography. Um, like a couple of films I'm particularly looking forward to are Summer Wars and The Boy and the Beast, and of course Mirai, which is kind of how Hosoda and Jin Kim, they met for the first time, at the Oscars when Mirai was nominated.
Darn right, it was nominated. No, And you need to watch Wolf Children. That's that's the best animated film from 2013, man. And like really, all of his movies are great. Um, and I'm working on an editorial right now because I'm thinking like with Hosoda going out of his way to bring on such talents for like non-Japanese talent, like Jin Kim and Tom Moore and Ross Stewart. Like, I'm wondering if this is like he's trying to push the next step of animation collaboration because I feel like why not? It's not like it doesn't happen. MFKZ is a collaboration between a France studio and Studio 4C, so it's not
And
like this stuff
even
never happens.
and even Yasuke is a very a more it's a more global production too, because that's Studio Mappa working with like an American showrunner.
Yeah, so I Belle might just be my most anticipated film of the year. Like,
Same.
and it's already been like a tough year. Um, so let's move on then. That's all the news we have to talk about, and if we missed anything, we'll talk about it next time.
All
So
right. It's
somebody once told me the world was kind of roaming. Let's talk about Shrek. You ready?
yes. Let's do this.
So, little context. Of course, most everyone probably knows about Shrek, the big studio animated series that launched DreamWorks into the spotlight. And we're going to start, of course, chronologically. We're going to start with the first film, which was released in 2001. So let's get some historical context of why this was such a big hit, because I feel like due to the whole meme status that Shrek has been put into, people have really diluted how important this film is, like into film and animation in general.
Hmm.
Because it's not like the B movie, because nobody cares about the B movie. It just became a funny way to have memes. Shrek is actually important to the animation scene. And
How far back do you want to go?
let's just go back to 2001. Let's just build a time period, like a time capsule of what animation was going through. Disney was going through a bit of a rough spot because this was right after the Disney Renaissance, and they were struggling to find their footing after like some films that didn't really succeed, like Pocahontas, and then there was some mixed response of films like Hercules and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And even though they had some good films like Mulan and Tarzan, it was like they were starting to slip a little. And that's when like DreamWorks was slowly starting to come into the fray, because this was like around, and this was also around when Pixar was starting to pick up steam. Because now we go into 2001. What movies were released in 2001? Well, we have Jimmy Neutron. We have Final Fantasy: The Spirit Within, Osmosis Jones, Waking Life, which is a great movie. Disney's Atlantis: The Lost Empire was, and Recess Schools Out. And then Pixar was released Monsters Inc. This very year. And not that DreamWorks was not doing well, but it's like after Ants and The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado didn't do well.
Yeah, that one ate shit at the box office, to put it lightly.
Yeah. So then comes this movie that, like, for the time, was unique and different from what we were getting in terms of animation. DreamWorks was ready to put down a fantasy parody comedy, basically ripping into fairy tale stories, the stuff that Disney made their whole identity based on.
let's back up. Let's back up a little bit further, because there's a man. There's a man who's kind of crucial to DreamWorks' history. We need to talk about Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Yes, he was the guy in charge of Disney during the 90s, and then a few years into it, Roy Disney was not happy about what Katzenberg was doing with the company and basically forced him out, and a huge, ugly lawsuit happened. And then Jeffrey Katzenberg teamed up with Steven Spielberg and
David Geffen.
and and took all that bitter, petty vitriol and started their own studio. And that included Ants, their first film, which did well, and I don't think ages as well as A Bug's Life. And not just because I like
the Woody Allen of it all.
Yeah, and then The Prince of Egypt comes out, and well, that's just a great movie, I think. And then The Road to El Dorado happens, and something was just not working with DreamWorks. So they were still trying to find their footing. And this Shrek film that they were working on has been in development for years at this point. They were trying to figure out how to approach the story after Spielberg bought the rights. And then, of course, multiple people were going through the roles and they were offered to people like Nicolas Cage. Can you imagine a Nicolas Cage Shrek?
That would have been weird.
Oh, so weird. And then Chris Farley of SNL fame was going to voice the character, and then he unfortunately passed away. And then the footage was lost in time until a few storyboards and recordings made it online. And it actually sounded pretty good, all things considered. I think Chris Farley would have done a pretty good job. But unfortunately, because he passed away, they had to start over again because it was and I'm oversimplifying these things. I'm sure there are videos and articles going over the finer details of this way more. And then they release Shrek into the wild with Mike Myers as the titular character, another SNL alum. And it became a smash hit. It was a huge film, and considering all things considered, it's amazing that it took home the first Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. The very first one, beating out Jimmy Neutron and Monsters, Inc. They beat out Disney.
At the very first Oscar that featured the best animated film. That's an important piece of trivia that shouldn't be overlooked.
It's amazing that this one film took the world by storm. It was a monstrous hit. And it was even in last year was put into the preservation in the National Film Registry. Which some people were like, huh, what, why? And it's do you not know how big this film was? It sounds like they don't. And, well, let's talk about it a little. Let's talk about the film, actually. Because now we just got all the history stuff out of the way. So the first film is about Shrek, a big antisocial ogre who just doesn't want to be bothered. He wants to be left alone. And unfortunately, one day he gets caught in the middle of this prince or lord of the kingdom, trying to evict and basically imprison all fairy tale creatures. And that's where Shrek runs into a talking donkey, voiced by Eddie Murphy. And after dealing with some of these characters from fairy tale stories, he just wants them off his swamp. And he decides to go to the Lord Farquaad. That name.
Yep.
Voiced by John Lithgow. And once he gets there and, of course, beats up all the knights in a very amusing wrestling sequence, Um, Farquaad gives him a deal. He wants Shrek to go save this Princess Fiona, voiced by Cameron Diaz. Man, that's 2000s. Um, and um, and they do. They go into the castle where she's being held, and avoid the dragon that's guarding the place, and make it out. And as they try to return to Lord Farquaad's kingdom, Fiona doesn't want Shrek to find out about something about her, and they bond along the way. So, Mike, rewatching this film, like, what were you thinking before watching it, and now after watching it?
So before watching it, the first Shrek was a movie that I owned on VHS, and I've seen a number of times. You know, I liked it well enough back then. I've always kind of liked the, you know, like the growing bond between Shrek and Donkey, and I think the romance between Shrek and Fiona is honestly some of the best and most like natural romances that we've seen in any sort of animated fairy tale. I think the story, like with the first film, is like it holds up. And after this rewatch, which was probably the first time in like 10-15 years that I had seen the film like start to finish, it holds up a lot better than than I may have originally given it credit for. And yet, given Katzenberg's history, it still feels like kind of weighed down in cynicism, only because I'm like very aware of its history. But the stuff that works really works.
I think that is the overall problem with the first film, because it promises this big, bombastic fantasy teardown of fairy tale stories and tropes. And it does. But it comes off like a lot of those Shrek wannabes from like that you would find in more recent years, like Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarfs and Charming, where it just doesn't go far enough with it. But but I still overall really enjoyed it. I think it actually has a really good story and character dynamics. I just think it works a little better as a drama than a comedy, even though it's funny. But it's not like what we will get into later with Shrek 2. But I want to talk a little bit about the animation first. First off, for a film that was still like when CGI was still getting, like everyone was still getting used to it, Shrek still holds up in a lot of ways that I think some films like Toy Story are starting to show their age.
Yeah,
And even,
I think 2000 by this time, like in the US, we've gotten to we've gotten to a pretty comfortable point in CGI where like where some of the more humanoid characters feel like they feel a little less uncanny valley,
right.
and like you're starting to see more details in like the hair and my favorite thing, the water.
Right.
And all of the scenes in the Dragon's Keep look amazing.
Yeah. And I think for DreamWorks, for all the faults and turmoil they'll go through in the next few decades, I think they were able to get humans down first. Like I know, like you could say that Toy Story did, and then The Incredibles did it. Like is the one that perfected it. But I think Shrek kind of deserves a lot more credit because they were able to make humanoid figures, like humans, like pretty realistic looking to a degree, humans, and it not look creepy. Like, sure, Lord Farquaad is a little more cartoonish looking because I mean,
And if you really take a look at his design, like they really went out of their way to make him resemble Michael Eisner.
oh, obviously, I mean that's like a lot of this film's interesting history and like the comedy behind it is really drenched into how angry Jeffrey Katzenberg was for getting fired at Disney. So that's why a lot of this film's humor is really cynical and mean spirited. Like especially with the first joke of Shrek using a piece of a fairy tale book like storybook as toilet paper, and of course the "It's a Small World After All" parody when they get to the kingdom, which is still really funny, but that's also because "It's a Small World After All" is not good, even for back then, and like the humans look good. Like the running is a little off. Like that's starting to show its age, but they still looked good. And I think like Shrek doesn't look too out of place, or Fiona doesn't look too out of place. Especially when they do some of the more cartoonier stuff, like when they encounter Robin Hood, um, in the in the forest later on.
Mhm.
And I think Donkey looks good still. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of this film's humor is very mean and not in like I mean it sometimes works. Like I love like the sequence where Farquaad is talking to the magic mirror from Snow White, and it's like, who's the greatest lord king of all the land? It's like, well, technically, sir, you're a prince still. Odious, or whatever the henchman's name is, and they pull out the mirror, a tiny mirror, and then he punches it. um, or like what they do with the gingerbread man is still very funny, and even though it's like, I'm sure some of the jokes about Farquaad's height don't age well, but I still love it. Like when he's walking into the torture chamber, and I still like, and he's still like, and he snaps his fingers, and they lower the table.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love I love visual gags like that. Like just the tiniest touches like that make me laugh more so than some of like the more obvious stuff.
yeah, no, like I still think one of the best dark jokes of the film is when Fiona is doing the whole like Snow White routine of singing and then singing to a bird, and she sings so high pitched that the bird explodes. And then
And then she cooks the eggs for breakfast.
oh, that's such a great joke. And I love the I mean I love just the scene like when Shrek deals with the intruders, and he tells him it's like, nah, that those are giants. Now ogres, they are much worse. They peel your skin and then squeeze the jelly out of your eyeballs. Like this, or yeah, squeezes the jelly out of your eyeballs. I heard it's good on toast too. And then does the roar, and he's like, "This is the part where you're supposed to run." And I think, like, even though I wish we could have seen the version with Chris Farley, um, like, what do you think about Mike Myers taking over as Shrek? Because now it's like it's his character.
Honestly, um, like I can no longer separate Myers's performance from the character. I'm I I think I might have heard like a clip or two of what Chris Farley would have sounded like as Shrek, but um but just the reality is you can't separate Mike Myers from the character.
No, and what did you think about Donkey? Because because that was also a big selling point because this film kind of helped shoot Eddie Murphy back into the limelight as well. Like it kept him out, like back in after a few duds and such. Like after, like that area in between the Nutty Professor and then everything else.
Um, Ed, Eddie Murphy is consistently great in all four films. Um, in this one, um, he does come off a little bit annoying at first, but I think as the film progresses, like like his relationship with Shrek improves a lot, and he's actually more of the voice of reason as we learn moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think is smart because I think that was kind of the joke at first was that like Donkey was supposed to be way too obnoxious for his own good. And I liked Shrek in this movie. Like I don't like I think his character and his development was handled well. Like I loved when uh Shrek was like Donkey was talking to Shrek and Shrek was like trying to get to Donkey saying like because Donkey was like, why didn't you just eat everyone there? And he's just like, well, ogres are they're like onions in that whole bit. It's like we have layers. There's more to us than you think. Um, and like I think and like the big dramatic I like how he goes from just kind of being like, I really don't want to do this, but I want my swamp back, to kind of giving Princess Fiona like like shenanigans because of how she was like, but what about my like brave knight? And it's just like they're like, okay, like they were just like they broke out in laughter, like and then when of course like I think the best scene was with Shrek talking to Donkey saying like how people just keep like judging him on his outside instead of his inside. And I think that scene is great. I think it's really well done and kind of shows that Mike Myers does have range when he is given the proper direction.
Mm-hmm. I think the thing about Shrek's arc in the first film is um I think it becomes a little bit more relatable as you get older. Um because that's and especially in like the age of social media where like people will have all sorts of like they'll have all sorts of opinions about you before ever getting to know you, like simply because of like the like the most shallow stuff.
Yeah, and no, it's very touching, and it's just like it kind of worked with Fiona as well. Though it's like it is kind of interesting to see her throughout the film start as like this starry-eyed hopeful of getting the proper fairy tale rescue. Just kind of gets shot down constantly, and then kind of become more of who she actually is. And I think that's very smart. I think it's very clever. But I do kind of think part of the igniting point of the third act is the weakest part of the film.
Oh, you mean like where they have to kind of do like that misunderstanding of Shrek overhears like the worst part of Fiona's conversation with Donkey.
Yeah, and this is when at the well, of course spoilers, but spoilers for a 20-year-old movie. Come on, people. That Fiona's curse is that at night she turns into an ogre. And it's not like I guess I just wish there was a better point or a better igniting point because I like the third act in general, but I do think like the third act of the film is the weakest part, even though it has a really good message at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I
Also,
mean,
like I picked this up recently, but the like the sequence at the end of the film where Fiona kind of like um transforms into her true self, that's a direct lift from Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Like the way her body lifts up and the lights are all
Like shooting out of her body and such. And
yep. That's a direct lift from Beauty and the Beast, and I think the way they executed that is just perfect.
yeah, I think it's all very well executed. And like, and I know some people kind of get on this film for its pop culture stuff, but there was not there were like again, Shrek was so unique. It was like, oh my gosh, this film's making like a Matrix reference and all this stuff. And like it's a very interesting time capsule of kind of like what Shrek would become later on, or just like the struggling evolution of the franchise. Let's just say, I think let's call it that.
That's fair.
But I think this film holds up overall. I think overall it's pretty great. Lord Farquaad gets probably some of the best laughs, and I do love that dark joke that the mama bear from the Three Bears is a rug. um, I think that's delightfully dark, and um, and this is of course like before we were introduced to all like the reoccurring side characters like Pinocchio, the three pigs, the blind mice, and the wolf. Um, and I do love what was it? Oh yeah, when the pigs were like Lord Farquaad kicked us out. He huffed and he puffed and gave us an eviction notice. No, and and then of course Shrek was probably the originator for the big dance sequence at the end of the film, like at the end of a lot of animated films. But
Yep.
again, the Smash Mouth references and such, like again, it's hard. Like I know it sounds kind of weird that I'm kind of hammering in how important this film is, but I think the internet in today's age has really just buried how influential and innovative this film was, because for a while a lot of animated studios were like, well, let's make a Shrek. Like there are still Shrek parody like wannabes coming out today, or they're taking like a cue from Shrek. And it's like this film, like for its faults, for whatever doesn't hold up and what doesn't age because of the behind the scenes drama of who was making the film, like you can't downplay that.
Yeah, I agree. As much as like the internet has memed this character and this franchise to death, you know, take some time and rewatch that first film, and you'll be surprised how much like the story and the characters still hold up.
Yeah, and like I just think like, because at first I was like, I don't know, maybe it doesn't age well, but then rewatching it, it's like, no, it actually holds up very well. I think there are some films that don't hold up as we go into it, but like I think it's I still think it's a pretty good movie. I don't think it was better than Monsters Inc. because I think Monsters Inc. was just great. Um, like, but what do you? I mean, like, what do you think? Like, would you say like it deserved its win over Monsters Inc.?
Um, uh, that's tough. I mean, yes, I think Monsters Inc. Um is an overall better film, but um, I think Shrek has had a more um
It was more impactful.
yeah, and I think that's why it earned its Academy Award win.
Yeah, and it also earned like it won a lot of the awards at the Annies also. So it like you can really, like I said, you can't downplay the impact this film had. Like
Oh,
so.
by the way, one other thing before we move on to Shrek 2. The original Shrek was the first animated film since Disney's Peter Pan to compete for the Palme d'Or at the 2001 Cannes Film Festival.
Isn't that amazing? Can you imagine that? All the stuff that goes at the Cannes Film Festival. Usually, like that's when you see films like Parasite and what have you. And
Yeah,
then here comes
so
Shrek. Like it's just so cool to read up about that kind of stuff.
okay, actually one last thing I want to mention
Go ahead.
before we move on to Shrek 2. The score by Henry Gregson Williams and John Powell is truly amazing. I've been going down this rabbit hole, looking up a lot of the composers who have worked on DreamWorks films, and to my surprise, like all of them except for maybe like a couple films have all been composed by people affiliated with Hans Zimmer's group Remote Controls Production. And you know they've worked with some of the best composers in the industry, and you know one of the most iconic scores is like the Shrek theme, Princess Fiona's scene with the exploding bird.
Oh, the do 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 do. It's really the DreamWorks theme now. But
Yeah, yep.
so let's go on to 2004. So Shrek. So a few things have changed now. Disney released what was at the time its last 2D animated film with Home on the Range. DreamWorks was still kind of struggling with what kind of studio they wanted to be, because this was like they released Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, and Sinbad, which they didn't do too well. And then they also released Shark Tale in 2004. Ugh, the worst film they've made. And then like Paramount was finding success with the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Pixar put out what is probably their most loved film, The Incredibles. And Satoshi Kon, may he rest in peace, put out Tokyo Godfathers. It wasn't a hugely eventful animated year, but this was also like a few years after like Blue Sky Studios put their name on a scene with Ice Age. But then here comes Shrek 2, which is usually considered the best film in the franchise. So, Mike, after rewatching it again, what are your thoughts before and after watching it?
I've always been of the mindset that, like, I've always been of the opinion that Shrek 2 is the peak of this franchise. It's like the cream of the crop, one of the like you know, one of the funniest animated films, one of the best comedies, animated or otherwise. And I still feel that way about 95% of this movie. I still like get a kick out of all of the great like visual gags in this film. I think it takes the whole fairy tale like the whole fairy tale parodies. It takes everything up to 11. Like this feels like the movie that we all kind of expected the first Shrek to be. But it like um it like it we needed the first one to like warm up to this movie. Now I said this movie holds up 95%. The 5% that doesn't, and again, this has less to do with his performance and more just the fact that some of the comments he's made are a little bit off-putting, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
John Cleese is the voice of Fiona's father, King Harold. And I still think he's, he delivers a very funny performance. It's also kind of cool that Julie Andrews is Queen Lillian.
Right.
Like Julie Andrews is like a Disney legend because she's Mary Poppins and she's also in the Princess Diaries movies.
Right. No, this was like, I mean, it's also kind of amusing. Like, if you remember from the first film, Jim Cummings, who was like a Disney staple for decades.
Oh yeah, he's one of the guards.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, it's like, I think once the first film got all of its toxic petty behind the scenes thing dealt with, it was able to fully thrive more. Like, it was able to be what it actually wanted to be and actually have fun with the jokes and jabs at pop culture and fairy tales parodies. And I still get a huge kick out of like Prince Charming, like doing the whole thing, like retelling or reenacting the whole story from the first film in the book, like of like the prince making his way to the castle, and then the wolf from Red Riding Hood is there instead. And I love like when Shrek and Fiona are on the beach and they're kissing, and then when they get hit by a wave, Shrek is kissing Ariel from The Little Mermaid, and
Yep.
Fiona just tosses her back into the water, and you see like sharks get at her.
like they really up the ante with like the darker humor in this one.
Well, and it's just like they do creative things, like the Hollywood sign is far, far away, and it's like
and the seedy dive bar where all the villains hang out is called the Poison Apple.
And like the ugly stepsister is a bartender there. Captain Hook's a piano player in the bar, which that's already a great joke that they expanded on and Tangled, because that, I think that was like the first time you see like a character of a Hook do a good job playing the piano.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like little stuff like seeing the Headless Horseman drinking, or like they do a lot of good jokes like in the foreground and the background.
By the way, that's Larry King as the voice of Doris. May he rest in peace.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that when we get a little further into this. And then like when Donkey kind of gets told, like gets like between the line, right, gets a read between the lines moment of like Shrek wants him to be out of there. And then he turns out, it's like, hey, Shrek. And then Shrek drops Fiona accidentally. And it's like, Donkey, I want him to be out of here. Okay, well, what should I tell these guys? And then the trumpeters and such are making like the big like entrance. And then the one at the end does the Hawaii 5-0 theme. And then it gets whacked. It's like, enough, Reggie. Like, this is such a funny movie. And like, I love like the little gags. Like when they're all having dinner at the castle, like you see all the forks, and there's one that looks like a comb with a spoon at the bottom, because
yep.
It's just a small joke, but I just love little details like that. Or like the little picture of Sir Justin, which is a parody of Justin Timberlake. Or like, and then of course we can't talk about Shrek 2 without it introducing probably the most popular side character out of any DreamWorks film. Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots.
Boots.
Like a character so popular that he got his own spin-off film. There's a sequel coming out, like we said, and a Netflix series.
A 6-season Netflix series.
Good Lord. That way to milk that character. Who is just like a great play on just like, oh, you need a hitman. But then so you get Puss in Boots. And oh man. Like this, like the film's already funny, but then they add like, let's do this. And it like I said, it takes full advantage of the fantasy setting. I love the fact that they make fun of cops with the knights.
I didn't remember that scene when I first saw the film. So watching that now, and
with everything going on.
Yeah, with everything going on, it made that scene so much funnier.
It is, and I love like the pepper spray is like a pepper grinder, and then of course it's like, hey, what's this? And it's a little bag of catnip, and Puss is like, oh, that's not mine. I was holding that for a friend. I mean, again, but it's like, it's just so interesting how some of these jokes hold up, and then of course there's the whole parody of Mission Impossible later on, and I love that one of the three blind mice fails to light the fuse because of obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and another gag is like once they actually go in to break out like the trio, Shrek is like, Pinocchio, tell a lie, say like, I don't know, I'm wearing women's underwear.
Oh gosh, and then he's like, oh, okay, I'm wearing ladies' underwear. And then it's like there's an awkward silence, and it's like, well, are you? Oh gosh. And of course, we can't talk about this film again without bringing up the probably maybe DreamWorks' best villain with
the fairy godmother.
But yeah, voiced by Jennifer Saunders, who is just the scene stealer.
Absolutely.
Of the entire film. And I love like how she comes up to the king and gets him into a flying limo. And then it looks like she's about to like basically give him a pair of cement shoes and toss him down the river. And it's just like, I'm going to do something that I didn't want to do. And then it turns out that they're at a drive-through. and it's a play on because at first I was like, is it a Burger King parody? No, it's a Fat Boys or Big Boys parody because it's called Friar Tuck's and a little statue at the end.
Oh, that's a deep cut.
That's a very deep cut if you know your burger joints. And I love that the toy that they get is an axe. And then of course the big the twist of this film is that like the king wants Shrek gone so Fiona can marry Prince Charming, who happens to be the son of the fairy godmother, which all great connections and such there. And then like when Shrek goes to the fairy godmother's basically potion factory to get like something to make him more appealing. And this is, I think, what also works about the film. It takes a huge risk by basically taking the ogre version of Shrek out of the film for like a good chunk of the film.
I'd say about like 75% of the film, Shrek as we know him is not in it.
Yeah, no, he's a human because he takes his potion, and of course, since Donkey drank the potion, he turns into a stallion, which is just great. And I love that scene when he comes back to Fiona, who also turned back to a human because of the potion side effects. And he's just like, Fiona, Shrek and I drank a potion, and now we're both sexy. And then she looks at the top, like on top of Donkey, and there's Puss in Boots. And then she's like, Shrek? And then he looks at her while he's like interrupted, like of him licking himself. And he's like, for you, dear, I will be anything. I like the human design for Shrek. It's kind of interesting to see like what would Shrek look like as a human. And it's just, man, this film is so good. And then of course the big climactic battle with Jennifer Saunders singing "I Need a Hero," which is everyone's basically favorite version of the song now, which basically eclipsed the original.
Yep.
I wonder how the original writer of that song feels about that. And but well, it's great. And it's also kind of like DreamWorks is starting to get into some like trying to work in like how can we do action set pieces better. And because this is not like this is way before they do like Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon. Like they're still kind of working things out. And this was of course before, no wait, the same year that The Incredibles comes out. And
I think The Incredibles came out in November or was it June? I know this one came out first.
let me see. November.
Okay,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
I thought so.
That makes sense. And it all handles up well, and like the humans still look good, and like they've aged pretty well from the second film. I still get a huge kick out of the red carpet scene where Thumbelina and Tom Thumb get swept up by a trash bin, and then they're like. And then, of course, a great cameo by Joan River. At least in the U.S. version, it was Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh my gosh, there's Sleeping Beauty," and Sleeping Beauty just falls slam onto the floor. Like this is such a great movie. This is like and this was like before DreamWorks got into a better flow of how to make sequels. Like because this was like I think their first time making a sequel, and they hit it out of the park. And I think that's a lot of that.
This was their very first sequel.
And I think a lot of it does help that they had the late, great Kelly Asbury, along with Conrad Vernon and Andrew Adamson. And I think the screenplay by Andrew and Joe Stillman and J. David Stem and David N. Weiss like help because they were able to have a little more fun with the setting and gimmicks and such. Like, I don't really have any complaints outside of the fact that the film does age poorly just because of John Cleese and his more recent actions and words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
other than Cleese, and the only reason why that's such a big deal is because a lot of King Harold's arc is, getting over his prejudice, not only for Shrek himself, but the whole backstory with Princess Fiona is, it was their parents, it was her parents that locked her in the tower.
Yeah,
because of the curse.
Yeah, and yeah, no. So it's like it like though that part's the only part that I would say like is starting to show its age, but otherwise, this is just a darn good movie. And Shrek 2 also competed at the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, which is fun, which is really funny. And it almost broke $1 billion worldwide. It was just short. And this might possibly be because of some re-releases and such, but this was a huge hit. And it's like, man, DreamWorks is on a roll. They finally found their stride. But let's move to 2007.
Yeah, we have to talk about it.
So 2007, Disney's trying to do CGI films like Meet the Robinsons. DC and Warner Brothers are starting their direct-to-video films with Superman Doomsday. Sony stepped into the ring with their first critically acclaimed film with Surf's Up. Pixar put out their second Brad Bird collaboration with Ratatouille. Satoshi Kon's final film, Paprika, gets a U.S. release in 2007. And Mamoru Hosoda puts out his first film, his first original film, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. And this is also when we got like Tenkan Creed. This was like when foreign animation was slowly starting to bleed into the mainstream. And
Yeah,
then
around this time, otaku culture was really starting to bleed into, um, you know, into the West. Like, I'd say um, like 2007 to like 2008 or 2009, was when anime was getting, um, and anime was starting to blow up more.
yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, DreamWorks didn't have the best critical year because this was the year they released B Movie, which of course now has like a cult following because of memes. And unfortunately, they dropped in quality with Shrek the Third. Okay. Mike, have you seen Shrek the Third before?
Honestly, I don't think I ever saw it like start to finish. I might have seen like parts of it. I Okay, I'll say this. I did not see this movie in theaters.
Me
Um
neither.
I I would have only watched it like on video on demand, well after the fact. Um and again, if it was not, start to finish, it was like, little chunks whenever it was on TV.
Right.
So this was the first time that I actually sat down, watched it from start to finish, and I'll say this much. Um, I didn't hate it, but compared to some of the direct that I've subjected myself to in recent years, um, this gets, um like on a scale from 1 to 5. This is like just barely. It's like a week, 2.5.
This is, I think, the worst film in the franchise and one of DreamWorks' worst films. It sits at the very bottom of my best to worst animated films of 2007. And as much as I don't like the terms cash grab, because I feel like, well, every movie getting made wants to make money. Doesn't matter how artistic driven it is or how corporate driven it is. Every movie wants to make cash. So
Yeah,
I don't
it's
get
it's
it.
it's it's called show business.
Yeah. With all that said, this one does feel like they made it because the original was a gigantic hit. The franchise was still kind of strong, but this was like years after like they had films like Madagascar come into play, and Pixar kind of had their first stumble with Cars like a year or two earlier. And yeah, it's just like it's interesting because I feel like this was like their first real failure uh after Shark Tale. And I mean critical failure. It was a financial hit, but it still made less money than the second film did overall because the first film made overall 913 million, while Shrek the Third only made 813 million. So
That's still a lot of money, but it's
yeah,
it is a step down.
it is a step down, and that's a lot of that is because the story's not very good. Because now we have Shrek, happily married to Fiona. Uh, the king dies in a very just not funny scene,
It's
and
I think,
it's a whip.
Harold's death is it's one of the most tone deaf, um scenes in the movie, sure, but the franchise as a whole.
It's not funny, but it wants to be funny, and it's like I'm not. This isn't a funny thing. And it's like it wants us to be like sad about it, but it also wants us to laugh. It doesn't work. So Shrek doesn't really want to have the responsibility of being king. So he goes off on a journey to find the next heir, who is Arthur, voiced by Justin Timberlake. But as he leaves to go on that journey, Prince Charming comes back to take revenge on the kingdom to kidnap the princesses, and Fiona is also pregnant. And so there's like a very mixed tone and theme of like this whole film. And a lot of the themes, like Shrek worrying about being a father and such. This might be harsh to say, but this film sounds like a direct to video film because it doesn't really know how to progress the story from point A to point B.
For starters, I think it's really lazy that they couldn't come up with a new villain to, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to find a positive way to spin, bringing back Prince Charming to like exact his revenge, but I don't know the way it's executed. It comes off as like he's only there because they couldn't think of anyone else to fill that role.
And it's weird because it's like you're bringing back half of the villains, but Prince Charming worked well because he was the spoiled brat son of the fairy godmother, and he just doesn't work as a lead villain. He's very uninteresting and boring. And at least Farquaad, for as cynically made as he was, had a better realization as a villain and such. Just a petty, cynical individual. And here you just get the less good half of the fairy godmother duo. And I would forgive this story being a mess if it was funny. And something happened between this film and the second film because it's not funny. I found myself not laughing at all, or not at all, but just very little.
Well, one thing that happened is, at least to my knowledge, they got like all new writers.
Yeah, Jeffrey Price, Peter St. Seaman, Chris Miller, who is also the director, and Aaron Warner. And it just feels like they were trying to recapture some of that magic, but they didn't know what to do. And I was kind of interested to see how they would do high school or college, like a setting when they go find Arthur Pendragon. But then it's like they waste the jokes there. I don't remember any of them.
Yeah, it's like I don't think they spent enough time. You know what? That's it. I don't think they spent enough time developing some of the newer characters, so that like when we meet them for the first time, they just kind of come off they come off as sort of like shallow parodies without really getting to know them as people.
Want to know the sad thing about the writers? Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman wrote the screenplay for Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, that just goes to show you not everything on your resume is going to be shiny gold.
Yeah, it just seemed like this film didn't really know where to take the comedy. And I mean, and then they do stuff like to bring back Larry King as the ugly stepsister, and I don't know how well this character ages in terms of like today's climate and whatnot of LGBT transgender stuff.
I'm gonna say it ages like sour milk.
I mean, we'll have to see if anybody from that community wants to tell us about this kind of thing. Like, tell us what you think about the character. Tell us. I'd actually like to hear. And then they do, but then they try to actually remake that joke because they go back to the poison apple, and the other stepsister is there, who's
Voiced by Regis Philbin.
and it's just like, why would you do that? And then you got stuff like all this celebrity casting. Like, I think Arthur is like with Justin Timberlake is fine. There are a few lines that are kind of funny, but I don't think Arthur's all that interesting of a character because we've seen this kind of character before. Because it's like, oh, he's at his low. Well, but we've seen that with Sword in the Stone and other stories. Like, we've seen the Arthur rising up to the occasion story bits, like arcs. And then we have then of course we have and then they run into Merlin, who's voiced by Eric Idle, who I think is the only one who gets a few laughs. Like, I liked his character, but some of the problems with him also come into play with a plot twist happens where Merlin accidentally swaps Donkey and Puss in Boots bodies,
which is like, okay, that's like that's like low hanging fruit when it comes to comedy.
And it's kind of funny at points, but we've seen this joke before, and it doesn't do anything for the story. And then it's like the casting of the princesses. Like, we have Cinderella as voiced by Amy Sedaris. You have Rapunzel, voiced by the always great Maya Rudolph. And then you have Snow White, who's voiced by Amy Poehler. By the way, Amy Poehler does a great job of copying the Disney Snow White singing voice.
Oh my god, she does. I actually thought for a second that when she was singing that was like some sort of archived recording, but nope.
No, that's her. And then Sleeping Beauty is voiced by Sherry O'Terry, who, like, I don't know. It always seems like Sleeping Beauty has only one joke to her, is that she's constantly sleepy.
Yeah.
And like, you have to kind of keep working that angle of like, how can you make this funny? Like, the second film, she just falls out asleep out of her carriage, or like I can't believe we're gonna make I'm gonna make a positive reference to this. Charming, when the person painting her portrait's like, oh god dang it, hold on, like, wake up. And she's like, oh sorry, oh sorry. Falls back asleep. And like, some of this stuff could be funny, and like, I like some of the casting, like Ian McShane as Captain Hook. For some reason, the ship captain at the beginning is voiced by Seth Rogen, because. But I like the evil trees, like that are voiced by Christopher Knights and Andrew Birch, and Walt Dorn, who would later go on to direct the Trolls films, voices the evil knight that you see, and it's like there's so much potential here, and they almost do something with the different princesses, but then it's like, again, they don't take it far enough. Like, this feels like a Red Shoes in the Seven Dwarfs or a Charming situation with this film. A lot of fun ideas, not taken far enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think all three of these films are kind of in that same nebulous sort of like they have like sort of the right ideas, they just all feel undercooked. For example, I get what they're going for with Shrek, recruiting King Arthur to be, well, recruiting Artie to be the next king. It's kind of like his like preparing to be a father,
right?
and I have to assume that they took that from an episode of Scrubs where, Dr. Cox is kind of, apprehensive about being a father, but then he sees JD and Turk, um, you know, like going to work drunk, and he's like chewing them out like he's scolding his own kids.
Yeah.
Um, but I get what they're trying to do with that plot. It's just it's just the problem lies in execution.
It also doesn't help that, like, I don't know. And it just kind of ends with a thud. It's like, okay, we've seen where the story's going. It kind of ends on a whimper, also, which is not a good sign. Where it just
Yeah,
seems like they just had to put something out in the end. So
and it's not like the end has a bad message. It's just
no, but still, I do find it kind of amusing that one of the controversies listed under in the Wikipedia page was how they basically took the joke from Monty Python with the coconuts
oh
and
right, that was the whole bit in the opening where Prince
yeah, with
Charming is
dinner
like
theater
reenacting.
like stuff, and they make that joke, and apparently like when Idol saw that joke, he was just ready to sue DreamWorks and walked out of the premiere of the film. And then, of course, the producers, and I'm sure Jeffrey Katzenberg was like, "Well, you and John Cleese are in the movie, so we're honoring you." And it's just like, or you just needed a quick joke because you couldn't think of funnier ones. But it's weird. It's like no, like out of all, like I still think Shark Tales is a worse movie, but Shrek the Third is down there as the worst. And I don't really recommend it. I think people could just skip it. But
Um, if you're a completionist who, for some reason, cares about the story of Shrek, fine, whatever. Um, you know, there are much worse movies out there. But if you don't have to watch this movie, I would recommend you not.
like, if you want to know like a sign of the quality of this film, look at the official poster for the first and second film, and just look how boring Shrek the Third poster looks. It's just Shrek's in a goofy king like royalty outfit. Whoa, wacky. It doesn't. It's like okay, Ay, whatever. But so let's move on to 2010. The franchise is pretty much kind of hit a brick wall after that third film wasn't great, and they were going to make a fourth movie, so they did, and unfortunately the Shrek franchise was getting outdone because this was the year that like this, and this was also during the time when DreamWorks was still like putting out 2 to 3 films a year, which makes it's no shock that they got bought out by Universal back in 2015. um because this was the year that we got Shrek Forever After, Megamind, and How to Train Your Dragon.
Boy, that I forgot what a packed year that ended up being.
And this was also the same year Pixar put out Toy Story 3. This is when Disney put out Tangled. And this is also when Illumination stepped into the ring with Despicable Me. And this is when like the foreign scene was taking kind of a back seat. But we got stuff like The Illusionist, which was the follow-up film to the director's previous film that was nominated for an Oscar, The Triplets of Belleville. And with like I said, The Illusionist. And even Zack Snyder put out his animated feature, Legends of the Guardians. Um the Owls of Vahul or something like that. Or Gahul. Sorry,
Yep.
I want to make sure I said that correctly. So it's like it's a weird place and time for Shrek to still be around, and that's kind of what the film feels like. It's like it wants to end on a high note, but it's okay. So, what's your overall opinion on this film before we kind of dive into it?
Um, I'd say overall, um, I don't know if this works as a final film, but like, um, I think obviously compared to Shrek the Third, this is like miles ahead. Um, but overall, I think this is a good movie. It has a great premise. Um, it has one of the more memorable villains. It's another great example of you know how well written the love story between Shrek and Fiona has been throughout the whole series.
Right.
Um, in many ways, this kind of feels like a reboot of the franchise, sort of like a reminder of what made Shrek such a like such a huge cultural touchstone in the first place.
Right, right.
This in other words, this is pretty much the It's a Wonderful Life, but for Shrek.
Right. Yeah, I like this movie a lot more than the third one. And I think it does a few more creative gimmicks with it. But this is like also a weird point in time for a few things. Like this was like the franchise's like last breath before the supposed reboot that's happening. And this is when like DreamWorks was starting to get really good with their animation. So let's just let's talk about the story. So basically, Shrek is a family man now, and he's feeling like he can't really be who he once was, and the world kind of treats him, or not shames him for it, but like it's like he's no longer the big mean green ogre. He's the family man and whatnot. And after a blow up at his kid's birthday party, which to give him credit, I would be so pissed off as well if I had all of that dumped onto me of just like people being inconsiderate and obnoxious. So anyway, we'll get to that scene in a second. So like after a little like meltdown and fight with Fiona, he runs into a character named Rumpelstiltskin, who is voiced by Walt Thorne, who we just talked about. And Rumpelstiltskin gives him an offer. Like he can give Shrek a day to be like who he once was if he gives Shrek like a day in return. So Shrek makes the deal and is teleported to a world where Shrek like a reboot, a restart to like who he once was. The catch, the day that Rumpelstiltskin could take away was the day when Shrek was born. So now Shrek is in this entirely different reality where Rumpelstiltskin conquered the world, and it's like in a very like post-apocalyptic setting.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's up to Shrek to find Fiona, find Donkey, get and take down Rumpelstiltskin to bring back his life and to be just to remember that how good he had it. So here's something I noted that's interesting. We're now at a point where DreamWorks' CGI is really good. And I think that's actually a detriment to the human designs.
You think so?
I think it hurts them a little because now they don't look as good, and not because they're just in higher quality. But then it's like they do something that was kind of interesting. Rumpelstiltskin has an entirely different design from the third and fourth film.
Yeah, I noticed that when I watched the when I watched Shrek the Third and Rumpelstiltskin made an appearance. I'm like, wait a minute.
So
Uh,
they're breaking continuity already, but that doesn't matter. I don't think they were intending that to be a an issue. And he looks so much better than the actual humans do. And like everyone looks fine. And then they go and do something that I'm surprised that the show like the third film didn't do. They introduce other ogres. And they have these kind of weird realistic faces like on them compare and like the witches do too. Like it seems like some of the characters are more cartoony looking and some of them are still realistic looking. And I don't think it clashes. I don't think it mixes well.
yeah, that's such a weird problem for the later films in this franchise to have, that um there's like an inconsistency in the like in the character designs.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like the and like I said, I like some of the gags that they come up with. Like I love that the bounty hunter thing that they do again is with the Pied Piper, and I think the Pied Piper is a great like pseudo antagonist.
I like how he has like different settings for his flute, and
Oh, that
and one of them is just like a silhouette of Shrek's head.
yeah for for ogres, and I liked the oh what was it I forgot what, anyway um and I liked the whole like the witches and such. I thought they were all kind of fun. Like one of them is voiced by Kristen Shaw. You can spot her if you're paying attention.
Yep.
And Kathy Griffin shows up at one point, Lake Bell as well, and Mary Kay Place. And like Billy Hayes does, and of course like Mike Mitchell shows up from time to time in this. But I guess it's like it has some of the same issues with the third film, just like the fact that they introduce other ogres. I was kind of getting an indication that like Shrek was like the last one because why does it take so long to finally introduce other ogres? And their designs are just I don't know if I like their designs.
I think I'm just not used to them because like Shrek Shrek is so iconic that to put him next to like other ogres just feels kind of off.
He looks too cartoony compared to the others. Like the Brogan, who's voiced by John Hamm, has a more realistic look. Then there's Gretchen, who's voiced by Jane Lynch, and then Cookie, who's voiced by Craig Robinson, who's great.
Mm-hmm.
What is that little cart that he has? I forgot what it like a chalupa cart or something.
Something like that.
When they're going over the plants, and then Fiona's like, "Wait, what's that?" Say it's my, or no, I think it's like a chimichanga cart. And he's like, "Y'all gonna need that." No, I don't think we'll need that. I don't know, man. You'll be hungry. And like, what did you think about Shrek's like meltdown at the beginning of the film?
Um, I think that was probably the worst moment because you know I on the one hand I understand that like this movie is sort of like a metaphor for Shrek going through a midlife crisis, but um the specific dialogue he says um after Fiona asks, like, what you wish your life would be, you know, like, you wish you had your life back before you met me, and he says, well, yes.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I
yikes.
um it again, it's all in the execution, and I think I think, like, what would have made him a little bit more sympathetic is if there was, like, I don't know, maybe just like like a 5-second pause, um like, in between.
Right.
We kind of talked about this off air, that once you kind of get past the very uncomfortable opening sequence, the rest of the film, once the actual plot kicks in, gets a lot better.
Yeah, like, it's like, and I understand what exactly they were going for with the opening sequence of just like Shrek just not being able to have time for himself. Then tell them to communicate. It's like he just let it build up too much, and then everyone else was just kind of inconsiderate, like Donkey being like, "I'm gonna lick the frosting," and it's just like, why? And then it's just like, I don't know. It like a lot. It just seems like nobody was able to communicate with one another. But like, but yeah, I think after you get past that first part, it's it's a lot better. It goes a lot smoother, and I love some of the gimmicks of this new reality. Like, I love seeing the gingerbread man as a gladiator.
Yep.
And
And
go ahead.
like like the design of Puss in Boots, who,
Oh gosh.
has gone soft, is, I don't
Like,
know. Maybe I'm just an easy lay for cat humor, but seeing him all like,
chunky.
yeah, yeah,
Like, I like
it's just too funny.
it
Like,
is
like
funny.
the way he's just kind of like schlepping about.
Oh, he's so I think it's his animation that makes it work, because otherwise it's a fat joke.
Mhm.
And like, I love when he like gets out of his little cat house, and it's just like he's keeping like a serious look on his face. Like, even though he's like slowly going down it, and then he's just like, "Come at me if you dare," and it's like, "Are you kidding me?" And it's like, "I catch the rodents," and then you see a rat go up to his saucer of milk, and he's like, I'll get that one later." Though I think the best joke is when he accidentally eats the gingerbread man. It's
Yeah,
like
he's
when
like,
they're kind
"Oh,
of,
what? Were you finished?"
yeah, it's like, "Oh, did you want to eat him?" And I like, what did you think of Rumpelstiltskin as a villain? I kind of liked him. I kind of wish he was the villain from the third film, like for the third film, instead of Prince Charming.
Um, yeah, I agree. I if if this was like like a clean trilogy, um, Rumpelstiltskin would have been a perfect villain for basically the plot of the third film.
Yeah, he would have. And I think he has some of the best lines, like when they meet the Pied Piper, and he tells one of the witches, like, "Okay, it's time to pay the piper."
No, really, it's
Well,
time to pay. It's time
like,
to pay.
come on, get my checkbook. It's time to pay the piper. And no, it really just makes the third film look so much worse in comparison.
Hmm.
And I could see that how they were trying to like re-spark that chemistry between Shrek and Donkey. It doesn't fully work, but I think, well, I think Donkey's funnier in this film than the third one. I love like when he realizes, like, oh man, in this other reality, I'm a dad and I'm in love with this dragon. And like when they try to do, like, it's that moment where they fell in love. and then he almost gets eaten. And it has a nice ending too. I love the whole like true love's kiss thing coming back into play, and I love like the little the it's the lines with it, between the lines or whatever that term is for like uh like signing stuff. The fine print within the fine print.
Yep.
And it ends okay. Like I don't know, like I guess Rumpelstiltskin just kind of vanishes from the universe after that, and then it just seems like kind of like yeah, we're gonna play I'm a Believer again at the end, and everything's good, and then the ogres are back, and it's like okay, so wait, when did the ogres come back? Like I don't know. I feel like there were a few ideas that they could have ironed out, but I do think how they handle Fiona is great with just her having to deal with getting out of the castle herself.
Um, this I think as far as strengths go, um, the things that work about Shrek Forever After are exactly the things that work about the first Shrek. You know, the story, the characters, pretty much the meat and potatoes stuff
Yeah.
works. It's 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 the more ambitious things where I take a little bit of issue with. Like I commend the attempts, but it also kind of begs more like further questions. You know, for example,
Right.
where did the other ogres come from? Um, you know, did Rumpelstiltskin seek did he like seek them out personally as his slaves, or like you know if we wanted to, we could pick apart like all the minute plot details.
Right. But in the end, I think it's a fine film. It's definitely not the worst film of 2010 that goes to Alpha and Omega. Um, but in a year when they had Megamind and How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek Forever After just falls flat, and that's a shame. It sucks that like the Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon franchises were able to end on a high note, while Shrek just ends on like, eh, that's it.
Yeah, see, this is why I don't think this works as a final film, because they didn't bring their A game. This is like their B
B
plus
game.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
like B their B plus game.
Right. But let's move on because even though the franchise kind of tapped out, in 2011 they released a spinoff with Puss in Boots. And did you know that they were trying to make this a direct to video film?
Yeah, I read about this. So this film, this spin-off, has been in development since the release of Shrek 2. And I guess in hindsight, watching Shrek 2, it does kind of feel like um it feels like this character who we meet for the first time like kind of comes with this baggage. Like he has this very mysterious backstory, and the fact that he's voiced by Antonio Banderas um pretty much fills in a lot of that backstory, just because of his history.
Right.
um so they wanted this to come out in 2008 as a direct to video film, and it had a really stupid title too. Puss in
The
Boots,
story.
the story of an ogre killer.
Yeah. It's
But in 2006, DreamWorks was like, you know what? This is pretty good. We're gonna put it on the slate.
yeah. And so this one's directed by Chris Miller and produced by no, not produced. Screenplay by Tom Wheeler. And this came out in 2011. And 2011 wasn't a great year for animation in general.
It was just a year.
It was a year, but there were some noticeable train wrecks because you had Hoodwinked 2, which for some reason this got a sequel. Hoodwinked got a sequel.
7 years later.
And then Mars Needs Moms came out, and that tanked hard and shut down that entire production company, along other reasons, but still. Then we had Romeo and Juliet, which was a surprise hit because there was nothing else out. We had Happy Feet 2. And okay, Pixar got their very first panned film with Cars 2. And at this point, Blue Sky was up and at 'em because then they released Rio. And then Disney put out their last 2D animated film with Winnie the Pooh. But
Released
then
the same weekend as the last Harry Potter.
way to kill your own freaking movies, Disney. Anyway, but then a few weird things happened. We got Puss in Boots. Spielberg came out with The Adventures of Tintin. Aardman and Sony came out with Arthur Christmas. And then DreamWorks put out Kung Fu Panda 2, which is a great movie that unfortunately didn't do as well because it was released the same week as The Hangover Part 2. Oy. And then Paramount and Nickelodeon hit out not a modest hit. I mean, it was a modest hit financially, but it was very well received and won the best animated feature of that year, Rango. So Puss in Boots kind of came out in a weird time. But Mike, what do you think about Puss in Boots overall?
Okay, so some personal context. Not only did I not see this film in theaters, I don't even think I saw like any trailers or anything. So like I literally watched this movie for the first time today, and honestly, it's kind of awesome. If this if this was like, well, okay, so the plot of this movie takes place before Shrek 2. But like even if this had no connection to the Shrek franchise at all, it would still be a damn good action adventure comedy. A great send up of the Mask of Zorro and other sort of like swashbuckling adventures.
Which is humorous that you make that comparison since Antonio Banderas was Zorro.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I think that's how I feel about it. Like, I think it's like, I think in a weak year that was 2011, Puss in Boots was one of the better films. It even was nominated alongside Kung Fu Panda 2 in 2011 for Best Animated Feature. Of course, like I said, it lost out to Rango. But yeah, on its own, it's a fun action adventure film. And I know not everyone feels that way. I think the reception was kind of mixed, but mostly positive. But yeah, I think this works, and that's not always a given when you make a spin-off film. You gotta have the right character.
Look, one more behind the scenes thing before we really dive into the plot. This is one of the many DreamWorks films that Guillermo del Toro worked on as an executive producer. He's been kind of like, he's had this very on and off relationship with the company from like I want to say 2007 to obviously now, since he's had like the most involvement with the Tales of Arcadia
Yeah.
series. But I think it's important to give credit to Del Toro for Puss in Boots specifically because um, because Antonio Barris is you know a Spanish protagonist.
Yeah. And so let's dive into uh Puss in Boots. So basically he's on another swashbuckling adventure and he gets word of these magic beans. By the way, this takes place in Spain, apparently, which is kind of weird because this is still in the Shrek universe. But so Spain exists in the Shrek universe.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So he gets words of these magic beans that are being held by Jack and Jill, who are voiced by Billy Bob Thornton and Amy Sedaris. Great casting. Uh, and on that like journey to heist to try to get them, he encounters another cat, Kitty Softpaws, voiced by Selma Hayek. And after failing to get the beans, they get into it. They chase each other and get into a very humorous dance off, which that animation for that sequence is great. I
I
want to
yeah,
talk.
I really fell in love with that sequence. Like you could argue that it drags a little bit, but
And it kind of does at points, but
yeah, but I think just the whole choreography of the dancing is what kept me just um it it was the choreography that just kept me hooked watching that scene.
right, I agree. And they run into an old friend of Puss in Boots. Zach Galifianakis is Humpty Alexander Dumpty, and he offers like a heist plan of what to do with the beans, so they can go and make, well, of course, the beanstalk to go get some golden eggs and the golden goose. And at first, Puss in Boots is like he doesn't really want to do it, but then it's like kind of won over, and then that leads into this journey and such as we learn about what happened to Puss in Boots in the past with Humpty Dumpty and what happens now. So let's talk about the animation because I feel like this was a very interesting turning point for the visual style of the Shrek franchise because now we're at like this film looks wholly distinct from uh from Shrek because all the humans have a more cartoony design to them for like design direction for them.
Hmm.
They have like bigger eyes, more cartoonish proportions. Like of course when you see Jack and Jill, um like it looks like these humans look wildly different from the humans you would see in Shrek, which is kind of interesting because it feels like two different teams were working on it. Were working on those aspects, like in some regards, because it's like, okay, we're making a spinoff, so we're going to be creative and different. While the Shrek Forever Afters is like, oh, I kind of want to do that. Oh no, we can't because the humans have a certain design philosophy to them for some reason. Even though Rumpelstiltskin looks like a troll goblin, um, and I think I like the overall look of Puss in Boots more than the two previous Shrek films.
Yeah. Again, that's why I say that if this was completely removed from the Shrek franchise, it would work no matter what because this has its own unique its own unique style in every regard, really, from the human characters to the geography is different. Like other than Puss in Boots himself, the only real connection that this has to the universe that Shrek established is we get like parodies of classic fairy tale and or literature characters like Humpty Dumpty, Jack and Jill, who are married apparently.
That's the part I never quite understood. Like, were they supposed to be a couple, or were they or were like I mean, I don't remember the original fairy tale, but I never took them as a couple. I guess I thought they were siblings. So
yeah, that's what I thought. So hearing that they were married in this film just kind of
it's weird. It's a different context for the characters.
Yeah, I will say though, I love the casting.
Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton and Amy Sedaris play off each other great.
Yeah,
and I love when you get first introduced to them as they walk into the hotel. And they're like, "We don't have any rooms," and Jill just shoots someone, and she's like, "I think you just had one open." And then they sign, and then they're like, "We also want a free complimentary continental breakfast and those little baby muffins." And then, like, after they get their room, and then the guy over the counter is like, "We don't have the baby muffins." And I think they have like really good chemistry. It was kind of interesting to see them, like, their main goal was like Jack wanted a kid.
Yeah, normally it's the wife who's like, I want to start a family.
No, and then they kind of flipped the trope of that on its head a little, and I like them. They kind of played as a very interesting like obstacle antagonist to the gang, and I find it amusing that they have like a whole army of pigs.
That they even treat as like their children.
Yeah. And but I will say I one thing about the animation is kind of weird is that like the cats still look fairly realistic, even though they're kind of cartoonish. Like they kind of have that Shrek like uncanny valleyness to them. But I did love that one cat where they're like, do you know what they do to eggs in prison? Well, let's just say it's not over easy. Oh, like I remember the marketing for that abused the heck out of that cat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're like #1 movie in America. Oh, like a glowing praise from Rotten Tomatoes and critics. Oh. But they used it well here in this film, and man, the action is great. I think this is a much better action film than The Adventures of Tintin, and Adventures of Tintin has that one great sequence like near the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
And I think it's very creative, and I like that they do kind of sprinkle in like little fairy tale bits, like you have Little Boy Blue, and then you see at the orphanage, Bo Peep and her sheep.
Oh, that's a good reference there.
Yeah, and I do like the joke of like when they're trying to find the magic beans, they keep stealing beans, and it's like now we have these beans, like green beans, long beans, string beans, coffee beans, and it's like, do you want a jelly bean? Oh, thank you. And I like that, like the big action sequence when they do finally get the beans is a lot of fun, and Jack and Jill are able to hold their own against them. And then when they finally get the beans and they plant them, I love that there's that little sprout, and then they're like, "What's going on? What do we need to do?" Well, I hear that you need to give love to the plant, so say something supportive about it. Okay, hold on. Hey, little buddy! Boom!
That actually startled me when I watched it.
Like, it's really loud.
I was not expecting that.
It's really loud. And I love that, like, when they're outside in the clouds, there's low oxygen, so they all speak in like the helium voice. Um, what parts of the film do you like?
Um, other than the Tuesday night dance off or dance fight scene, um, I like the sequence of them riding up the beanstalk into the clouds. That was a cool sequence. Um, you talked before about you know trying to get the beans from Jack and Jill. Um, that whole sequence was fun. Um, as far as character moments, um, I really liked how um, Puss and Humpty's arcs came to a close. They're like just in general, they have a very unique relationship.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't know if I consider Humpty a villain or a hero. He's like pretty squarely a like an anti-hero.
Yeah, yeah. And I
And
think that Zach Galifianakis does a great job as a character.
he really does.
And I love, like, when you find out when Humpty Dumpty was like you didn't know, but I've been following you this whole time. And they go through the cut the flashback, and you see him like raise up from the bed from the beginning, and then like when or like at the I forgot where they like comes out from under like someone's dress, and then with all the cats, he's wearing like a cat costume. Like, Zach Galifianakis is actually really good. Now I like him in like Lego Batman more, but I thought he did a good job. And like I think the voice cast does a good job. I like Antonio Banderas and I like Salma Hayek. Like, hey, anytime you can put Salma Hayek in more movies, I'll go watch them. And I like well, fun fact, Guillermo del Toro does show up in the film.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he's the commandante or commandant. Um and like the head guard guy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking about it now. Yeah, that of course that's Guillermo del Toro.
Right, right. And funny enough, they don't like go overboard with the celebrity cameos for this one. Like, like I said, for some reason Seth Rogen was in the third film. It's mostly just everyone from the DreamWorks background. Like you got Chris Miller, Conrad Vernon, and Tom Wheeler and such. Um but they don't and Mike Mitchell, but they don't like try to shove in a bunch of celebrity cameos, which is kind of nice.
Like if anything, um this movie has a really a really um contained ensemble cast, which I think is really refreshing in some ways.
Yeah, I think he does like I think that this is one of the better casts for the film. Now, I am a little bummed out that they had to go through like the liars revealed kind of story beat when you find out that like Humpty Dumpty's been playing everyone and it was actually involved with Jack and Jill and what have you. But like what did you think about Salma Hayek's character?
Um, she, I, I, I think I think she makes a great version of Catwoman, which
Right.
yeah, she's very much a Catwoman inspired character. I I like her backstory, like how she got her nickname Soft Paws. Um, it's um, it's um, a pretty unique sort of tragic backstory. Um, really just the chemistry that she and Banderas have is, you know, pretty solid.
I think they could have done a little more with her, but I did enjoy Selma Hayek, and I just like her as an actress. So,
Same.
um, but yeah, I think for this like smaller film, like I mean, granted, it still cost 130 million, which I don't think it needed to, especially since I feel like DreamWorks has been making it work with the $60 million range recently, like what they did with like the Croods and New Age and such. But then again, this was like back when like Katzenberg was like, every movie we make with animation needs to be $130 million for some reason.
Yeah, because I have no idea.
No, I do wonder where that money went into. Like that's always interests me about this kind of stuff when they give you the budget numbers. I think overall though, I think I really liked Puss in Boots, and I'm kind of curious to see where they go with the sequel.
Yeah, me too. I'm it's kind of cool how of all the characters to in the Shrek universe to get a spin-off, it's obviously the one, like the one with the the obvious Zorro parody,
Right.
which is probably why he gets a Netflix series that lasted for 6 seasons.
Yeah, no, I remember the Netflix series. It was pretty okay. It was just kind of typical DreamWorks TV stuff. They didn't get like they didn't get Antonio Banderas back for obvious reasons, I guess. Even though it's Netflix and they spend so much money.
Yeah,
um,
they have Eric Bauza doing a spot on Banderas impression.
oh, is that who they got?
Yep.
Okay, okay, I'm down for that. I fully approve that they got Eric Bauza for that. Um, and but I don't remember much else about the show. I watched it for a few episodes and then kind of gave up. I was like, it's not for me.
I might go through that just out of curiosity. Maybe we can review that by the time the sequel comes out, just for fun.
Oh, that'll be fun. I didn't get to the point where they introduced Danny Trejo as the I think he was supposed to be the leader of the bandits. So I was a little like, I'm not really enjoying the show, but I really want to see the episode where Danny Trejo's in it. But oh well, but we'll give it another try. Um,
Certainly.
but yeah, but that's where we are. Apparently, there's a fifth reboot, maybe Shrek movie coming out, and do you think Shrek works in this time period anymore? Like, we're kind of at a point where meta humor and parody stuff is not all that popular anymore. But
I think um, Shrek is one of those legacy characters who um, um, it's like Toy Story um, or like Despicable Me, or to a lesser extent Madagascar, where you know no matter how tired like the core premise is of like genre parody, like the characters um in this franchise have endured long enough that um that people will show up for a new installment.
now, do you think it should be a reboot or a sequel?
uh Personally, I would rather it be a sequel, um because with animation, the characters don't age, So, um, you can tell stories. You can tell any kind of story you want in animation. It doesn't have to necessarily be. It doesn't necessarily need to be like a hard reboot.
Right.
But who knows? Maybe they want to take the franchise in a new direction, or I don't know. Maybe Shrek 5, um, you know, maybe Shrek 5 is like, it takes place like 10, 15 years in the future. And I don't know. There are things you can do with a new Shrek film that don't necessarily require the whole thing to be rebooted.
I think I would probably like to see a reboot just to get a fresh direction to it, because I don't want it to be a sequel where it's like, hey, we're gonna do all these callbacks. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about where they would take this franchise, even though I'm not like super like dismissive of DreamWorks. I just kind of, I don't know what kind of film they could make with the franchise, but we'll just have to see. And that is it.
All right. So for recommendations, I don't have necessarily any movies or TV shows to recommend, but because our one of our upcoming podcasts revolves around the spring anime season, and a couple of those titles are going to Netflix. I think one video that I can recommend if you want to know a little bit more about why Netflix does what they do, I would check out Glass Reflections video on Netflix Jail, which apparently is like their decision to instead of simulcasting the anime, wait to release it until the whole season is finished. And one like I think two of the series of the spring anime season that are going to Netflix are Shaman King and what's the other one from the
I
same
think Eden Zero.
Eden Zero. That's the one.
And then like I think it's called like Cervantes, the Roman fighter. I forgot what it was called, but they have a few that they've locked off for Netflix.
Yeah, so if you want to learn a little bit more about why Netflix does what they do, check out that video by Glass Reflection.
Yeah, I think that was a good video. I watched that recently. For my recommendation, as Mike mentioned or referenced, we are going through the spring anime season. We're going to be doing a 2-episode thing in May because they just decided that we needed to watch 30 shows, and that's not counting follow-ups and so on. So, and short form anime. Good Lord. So I've been going through some of them recently, and this is a recommendation based off of just the first episode. The best anime so far this season that I've seen, and there's already a few great ones like those Snow White Notes and Mars Red and Juron, the Princess of Blood and Snow. I recommend watching on Funimation a fantasy comedy called Dragon Goes House Hunting.
I love it already based on the title.
This is already something that I feel like would have fit the recommendations best, because it's about a dragon who gets kicked out of his cave because he let adventurers steal an egg. And he just wants to have a home. He doesn't want to, like, he's like a pathetic loser of the dragons. And he just wants a home to feel safe and cozy in. And he goes all around the kingdom trying to like encounters all these other mystical animals, and then runs into a super powerful elf wizard who makes a living off of real estate development. And And they meet up and they go on this journey to find this dragon the perfect home. It is so funny. The opening is a bop. It's really funny. It's so creative, and I don't know what it is about these fantasy comedies these last few seasons, like with Sleepy Princess and Demon Castle. They are creative and funny, and I loved the first episode that I watched today, and I can't wait to watch the next episode.
Man, I'm so excited to check that one out. Again, literally just based on the title, it sounds like it's going to be a laugh riot.
It's funny. It's a lot better than some of the other ones like Burning Kabaddi or Kabaddi and this one romance age gap rom-com, which is just really creepy and not well made. And like I've watched a few others like Combatants Must Be Dispatched, which is the new show by which is based off of the light novel made by the person who made Konosuba. I don't think it hits as well, but I have to wait and see what happens. I just think out of all the shows I've watched so far, Dragon Goes House Hunting has hit it like that, like instantly. So that's my recommendation.
Awesome. And yeah, that'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. Before we head out of here, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Cam's Eye View, where I post thoughts, comments, and my reviews. I run my own website called camseyeview.biz, where I review animated features called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview.
All right,
and
you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. Check out all my quick thought reviews on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. Find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can check out all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this installment of Renegade Animation. You will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Bye.